Before Voltaic, I spent 14 years working at Intel. I was in the division that supported electric vehicle companies and autonomous vehicle companies. When I was working at Intel, it was kind of like the corporate tech job, you know? It was obviously like super rewarding and fun, but I needed like some sort of very different escape. So I bought like a 16-foot Sea Ray, and that was my first boat. I started like retrofitting it to wakeboard. Me and my friends would always take it out, you know, every weekend. We were kind of younger.
You know, we're much younger than we are now today. Spent a lot of time on the water together, wakeboarding, wake surfing, a lot of late nights coming off the water at 1, 2 in the morning, putting the boat away. You know, he said, hey, I'm working on this thing called Voltaic. We'd love to be interested in, you know, putting some work in. So I started really around the same time the company's founded, January 2023. Fast forward to about September timeframe, I decided to take on a more prominent role as Chief Operating Officer.
And then Jonathan, I knew when he was working at Tesla and Cruise Automation.
I met Richard when I was at Tesla. He was one of my suppliers, and he came to me with the idea of building an electric boat. And this was back in 2019. And at that time, I was like, okay, yeah, sure, Richard, like, great, go do you. And then when we met up in, I believe it was like 2022, he told me he had started Voltaic Marine. And he asked me to join and help on the supply chain side because we worked closely together at Tesla. I think he trusted me. You know, I respect Richard, trust him a lot.
And then I met Will through Cody, and so I kind of got a feel of like Will's technical capability, and we brought them together.
I know Will from Intel.
And we spent a lot of time wheeling out in the Oregon National Sand Dunes, and so we were often breaking things and then having to fix them, so a lot of our time was spent trying to build our trucks faster, better, stronger than what it was before. But you know, one thing led to another, things escalated, and here I am in Michigan working on building, you know, our first prototype boat. The way that Richard has typically explained it, that he knew a lot of the players, you know, in the space that are building the electric motors, the batteries. He held those relationships, and he saw this happening, you know, this transformation in the automotive industry where more and more manufacturers were building electric options. So why aren't we doing this in the marine space?
Bringing that core team together really helped, and then we've expanded. We have mechanical engineers who are just super passionate about what we're doing, electrical engineers. We got the Kinetic team backing us now.
At Kinetic, you know, being able to leverage, you know, those skilled hands without having to necessarily build that from the ground up from Voltaic certainly enables us to go a lot faster and to perhaps mitigate risk as it pertains to making mistakes doing something for the first time on our own.
When it comes to Voltaic, what we liked about them was the energy and passion that the management team had. I mean, they were all in on this. 2, they had a plan. It was very clear what their execution plan was going to be. 3, they already had market demand coming. They're not trying to make the market. There is a market that's being created for that. What we saw was we could help them with our skill set in managing the supply chain, but also managing the build process. I know what it is today. This is not what we're going to be doing long-term for these guys. We're going to be helping these guys build these boats for years to come. And that's really what we want, is a long-term partnership, not a short-term transaction.
So in 10 years, we want our company to have a lot of different segments, a lot of different markets, all built on the same core technologies, scaling really well. You know, anything from really fun boats, getting families on the water, getting new people in the market, all the way to like, hey, how do we drive new technology adoption and try new things in those more kind of commercial industries as well. You know, if you want to go build something for the rest of your life, you got to merge your passion with your experience, and like we've been lucky enough that our team gets to do that now.